Because let's be honest here, all this stuff that we're saying, to go down to the lowest common denominator about allowing ourselves to be transformed by the people that we're with, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Because self-awareness is an uncomfortable process on so many levels. So let's work this through together today, right? And let's start with how one of the first things we encounter with developing self-awareness is that it brings us into a confrontation with our identity and specifically our shame and what things we hold as our ego. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I know two of you are we're very passionate at church also about Brene Brown, right? So talk to us about shame and talk to us about how self-awareness brings us into a confrontation with that.
Well, okay, I can just share what has helped me to build self-awareness. The first thing I would strongly suggest and recommend, although I know it's hard here in Singapore, is therapy. So, so when we were at Fuller, we have a school of psychology, right? And then all the professors were like, one professor said that you all who are pastors should go for therapy so that you can learn. And so I said, sure. I want to learn. So I signed up for therapy because it was cheaper in school, but also with the intention I want to learn. I will observe how the therapist counsels me so that I can take that and then counsel other people. So I was like, I'm going to therapy to make myself a better pastor. And I went to therapy and I was completely destroyed. Because you think, literally in my first session at therapy, I remember saying, I have pretty high emotional awareness and I'm a very emotionally stable person. So I'm not here to fix myself. I'm just here to experience it. And then I shrugged and my therapist looked at me and was like, yeah. That's what you think, right? But she was very graceful and let me. But anyway, so my journey through therapy and recognizing the areas in my life that I needed healing from. Seminary is very deconstructive. So that brought up a lot of stuff that needed to be healed. So actually, having someone to walk with you through stuff builds self-awareness. And then going through stuff builds self-awareness. So if you are in a difficult situation and you respond in a certain way that you know is not healthy, you have to be like, oh, why am I, just recognize that you're responding in a way that seems off and then taking the time to reflect on that. And so having all these moments of being able to process my behavior and the emotion behind that behavior and what is the truth that I'm telling or the lie that I'm telling myself that's causing me to have this emotion, that's causing me to behave in this way. That to me is self-awareness. And shame is a huge part of our culture that causes us to deny ourselves, to deny who we are. And so if you're aware of yourself, you're able to be less ashamed. Okay, but that's a very simple way to say it. I'll let Chris say more.
No, that's good. I don't know I have much to build off that. I would say, it happened this morning as I was tweaking my sermon at the last minute. I found myself kind of looking it over, and then I would start checking Facebook. Facebook's a great outlet to not deal with yourself. Which is ironic because then Facebook just invites more shame. You feel terrible because you're everyone else's life is so cool and mine sucks. Everyone else is so pretty, I'm not. So in any event, or at least that's my internal dialogue. I was even doing it when I was praying. I was praying this morning for all y'all and for this moment. And I found myself checking out and going to Facebook. So there are a number of ways that we can find to distract ourselves. Whether it's food or drinking or sleep or withdrawal or whatever it is. And I would just say maybe the first step to self-awareness is paying attention to those moments when you start to check out of yourself, because it's actually a subconscious voice that's probably saying something to you that you don't want to hear. And so you mute it by going elsewhere, which I think is shame then just perpetuates itself that way. I also think when I think of self-awareness, unfortunately, it plays out a lot in my marriage. So, marriage is just another human being that's really, really close to you, seeing all of your faults. So, you guys can act everyone. I think could have a friendship that's as deep as a marriage, and it's just another human that's watching you be human, which means you come with quirks and errors. And I think so. Often it's just Jill pointing out that I'm wrong and me having to own that. And if you had asked me 3 years ago when Jill's pointing out things that I'm doing that are stupid or saying things, like, I'm less inclined to agree with them. It's only through forced activity of self-awareness that I'm becoming more inclined. And I hope that in 3 years, I'm even more aware. But it always, like, it starts at zero. Like, it starts at one, right? Like, you have to take your first step of not picking up or when you pick up the phone to, like, avoid the voices in your head, like, put it away and pay attention to the voice. When someone, per John Carlos's sermon last week, like, if someone says you're dominating the conversation, like, you probably are. Listen to them and do the internal work. And I promise you, like, it pays itself off and it continues. But you just got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you guys are talking about the internal work, right? That self thing, because we are talking about inclusive communities. So some of you are wondering, why aren't we talking about how we respond to other people? But it starts with being aware of how we're responding to ourselves, and it starts to pay off in how we respond to people. Because those of you that have been around for, let's say, our EQ series, right? It starts with self-awareness, self-regulation, and then it moves on to social awareness and social regulation as well, and social skills.